Welcome back. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. Our big focus this hour, 3 Indian seafarers are dead. They were not soldiers, not combatants, but crew members on a commercial merchant ship operating off the coast of Oman. The deaths occurred after the attack on MT Setebello, an oil products tanker carrying 24 Indian crew members. Days later, MT Jalveer, another vessel with Indian seafarers on board, also came under attack in the same region. The incidents have raised serious questions about the safety of civilian shipping in the Gulf of Oman and near the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's busiest maritime routes. Under international law, merchant vessels are civilian assets. So what happens when they are hit in a conflict zone? Does it matter whether the attack occurs in territorial or international waters? After summoning the top US diplomat, India has demanded accountability. Tonight we're asking, can these deaths be dismissed as collateral damage? Ambassador Bhashpati Mukherjee, former diplomat, is joining us live. Major General G.T. Dwivedi, geopolitical expert, is also with us on the broadcast. Adit Kothari, international affairs expert, joins us live as well. Ambassador Mukherjee, reprehensible incidents happening with our Indian vessels off the Strait of Hormuz. Has India taken this up effectively? What more can be done? And what do you make of the terrible way in which 3 of our Indian lives have been lost in the seas?
It is a terrible loss, and I would like to express through this channel my deepest condolences to the families of those whose lives were taken away. You asked a question of whether it is permitted. According to the UN Convention of Laws of Peace, UNCLOS we call it, this is a violation of UNCLOS. They were unarmed. They had already apparently indicated where they were going, and these were merchant navy, Indian merchant navy. India has one of the largest number of people in merchant navy ships worldwide. And there is no justification for what happened. Maybe the Americans will come back and say that they made a mistake or it was what is called friendly fire or whatever. They haven't done that yet. But I can tell you one thing, Uday, this is going to have a huge public reaction in India. Just look at X and see the comments coming. And I'm sure there will be a very, very strong statement tomorrow once we've got hold of all the facts. Because the Americans were trying to say that 2 of the ships were sanctioned, etc. I don't think that's true. It needs to be verified. According to my information, none of them were sanctioned. If they are sanctioned, let them produce the information. And does it mean that they have the right to violate international law and kill merchant navy sailors on a tanker which according to them is sanctioned? I don't think so. It's against all laws of war. Of course, one can say, Uday, that the United States does not believe in international law, they don't believe in international conventions, they don't believe in UNCLOS, but they should remember that this gross violation of international law can one day turn 180 degrees and be used against them, which it usually does, actually. It's like the Afghanistan-Taliban situation. So they have to be careful. And their ambassador is apparently out of India. He's apparently in Kazakhstan. But his deputy was called in and was hauled over the coals. So it's not as if we have not reacted. We have reacted very strongly. And I'm sure we will react even more strongly. They cannot treat India like a banana republic and take out our merchant navy unarmed people in this manner. I'm sorry. This is not the way for a strategic partner to behave with India.
Major Dwivedi, what do you make of these incidents, and the repeated manner in which these attacks have occurred? Of course, one has led to 3 Indians dying, but the rest have also been attacks nonetheless. What do you make of what has transpired suddenly in the last 48 hours to 72 hours and how this should now be reacted and taken up at the highest level? I've had today some of the families who've spoken with us, and they are shocked, upset and emotional at the way our Indian brothers have died.
Well, Uday, first and foremost, it's very unfortunate that this incident has taken place, and we share the grief with the families. After all, we lost 3 fellow Indians for no reason or for no fault of their own. The point is that we need to see this whole thing in a perspective. Well, one quite understands that the Strait of Hormuz is today war zone. It's a area where shooting is taking place. But then, this cannot be just dismissed as deaths in negligence, because first and foremost, even in the war zone, there are certain protocols, there are certain standard operating procedures where you carry out the identification of the target you are engaging, and only if the target is hostile that such targets are engaged. I don't think that American forces are observing any of these precautions, and they are shooting at will, which is very, very unfortunate. That shows the arrogance of a superpower. The second point is whether this vessel was in the territorial waters of Oman or whether it was outside. In both cases, it has implications. In case it is within the territorial waters, then it is a question of sovereignty of the nation. That means that nation's sovereignty has been impeached. And even if it is not, then there is a protocol on the international waters. And you cannot just engage any ship which is a mercantile, which is not a naval ship, or which is not a ship that carry hostile act or belongs to the enemy. So the point is that I think this issue needs to be taken up very seriously, very strongly on the diplomatic channel, and this must draw the global attention, because it's not only that Indian ships have been hit, there are other ships as well. So the point is that America must realize that they must exercise restraint. Just that they have a finger on the trigger, that doesn't mean that they keep shooting around. That is not acceptable. And the second point is that laws have to be observed, because after laws are made, but unfortunately, all the superpowers, whether it's China or America, they are very selective as far as the observation or laws are concerned, because they feel that might is right. But I don't think this matter can be left at that, because this actually has implications for the mercantile shipping, which are the lifelines. It has the implications, loss of human life, and also it has the economic implications. So I think this issue must be taken very seriously. We must arouse the global attention to this, and this cannot be dismissed as that's in negligence. I think Americans need to pay a price for this. Uday.
All right, let me in fact take that to Adit Kothari as well. Adit Kothari, this really has been an audacious attack. And what has made it even more audacious is the fact that there has been no condemnation or no backtracking or no sympathies that have come in or condolences from the attackers either. Aditya, what do you make of this incident? How India should be reacting to it, whether you're satisfied with our response so far, and also whether this is a sign of what perhaps will come for further vessels as well if we do not take adequate measures immediately diplomatically.
Uday, I think without doubt, the United States wants to create a deterrence in the Strait of Hormuz. They want to discourage any vessels which they believe is either operating as a shadow fleet or has previous sanctions or is touted to carry Iranian exports. They want to create a deterrence for all of those vessels. Whether or not the US is going to ever apologize or hold themselves accountable, I mean, I'm still waiting for them to hold themselves accountable for killing over 100 girls in a school in Minab. We haven't heard anything from the United States in terms of accountability from that perspective. So from this perspective, I think the 3 Indian fatalities which have happened will also continue to remain the back burner. I mean, that's not how the United States operates. They are absolutely unapologetic about the inhumanity that they demonstrate during the hours of war, and that is well documented at least over the last 25 years, if we don't go into the Vietnam era. Now, from an Indian perspective, yes, the condemnations have come from the MEA, but are they strong enough? I think that's a question mark. You've obviously Sergio Gore is not in the country at the moment, but his charge d'affaires is there, and you've summoned him. Obviously you've highlighted how displeasured you are with the events, but again, there is nothing come out from that perspective as well, because the United States needs to come out and say, give out a clarification as to why did they actually attack those ships. And, they've repeatedly said that, warning shots were actually fired. However, if the warning shots were fired, why is one of the shipping managers coming out and saying that, we actually did not hear any warning shots. We were actually not told anything on the radio, and we were just, hellfire was just it was just unleashed upon us as a consequence. So, that clarification needs to come out. That data needs to be put out as to what sort of notices were provided to these three vessels by the United States, by the CENTCOM. Until that comes out, I don't think we will see the United States being held accountable to greater standards. But all the media reports so far suggest that there were absolutely no warnings which were provided to all three vessels, and they just hit them on the whim of being non-compliant or carrying Iranian exports to other countries. So they wanted to create a deterrence and an example out of these three vessels. Uday.
I believe Captain Shyam Kumar, a former Navy officer, has also joined the broadcast. Captain Kumar, do you believe, of course, while the US is completely at fault here, but do you believe also questions should be raised of the captain of the ship, the company that was running the ship, for why it was going in the waters, when there were dangers ahead, or whether there were warning shots fired, whether there were warnings given and not heeded to? Do you believe this should be investigated, because it is also one of the demands of the family today? Or do you believe this was a completely unprovoked attack that should not be faulted on the vessel or the navigators on the vessel?
Thank you, Jai Hind, Shanavarana. First of all, some crude facts about the naval warfare, which we must understand, because the rules of engagements at sea and how the naval wars take place is normally not available to the mass media and the viewers. Please understand, America has placed a blockade. Blockade is a legal phenomena, and although UNCLOS, America is not a signatory, but before that also, before the UNCLOS, things are in shape. Blockade is an old phenomena from history. So therefore, any ship which is war waging capacity increased to Iran, or contraband, or anything which is going to Iran or coming out of Iran, has been banned by America. And unfortunately, crude fact of the whole subject is that Americans will attack. These incidents which happened is about 23 kilometers northeast of Oman. Jalveer, Sittevele, and another ship were hit. It is very clearly defined by them that there is a procedure for it. Night, day, visit, board, search, and siege. VBSS operations are carried out by visiting a ship, by warning shots, etc. We all keep doing it at sea regularly. Policing at sea is the naval role, which we do it very regularly. How has been also attacked, which was going to Sirki from Oman, and it was attacked. It was carrying some essential goods. Again, all this will always be debatable, because you are in contested waters. All the mercantile who's flying through the contested water are those who have been going through the tankers far earlier. Those who are experienced, they know all this. There will be some skirmishes like this. There will be some attacks like this. Whether the warning shots have been fired or not, the engine room was hit by a aircraft, a missile, precise attack on this particular Sittevele especially. We lost 3 sailors, Indian, and we are at loss. We have summoned, our Indian government has summoned the High Commission, the American ambassador, the acting in charge, charged the affair, and we have protested. You should see that the flags can be of any place, ship could be built of any place, sailors could be from anywhere, nobody knows. So there is no selective visit, board and search operation possible at all times. These are crude facts of blockade. I am not saying my sympathies with our sailors, obviously, and we, Energy Suraksha, Urja Suraksha is in progress. Indian naval warships are around to give support, but 20,000 Indian mariners are stranded in the Gulf waters. We don't know which ship who are, and if the ships are flying at the risk, captain is taking a risk, this can happen. So one has to be prepared for it and be ready for it. As far as USA is concerned, rules of engagement says blockade Aswamed Yag. In Hindi, in the Hindu Sanskriti, Aswamed Yag, if you have send the horse. If anybody catches it, he will have to fight for it. So America is doing that. Iran is trying to withstand the pressure. But the fact remains that in those waters, Russian, any other adversary ships are not seen. They will not challenge it. Blockade is a different maneuver. We did it in 71 war in the Bay of Bengal and in the Arabian Sea, and we did that contraband control, and we really been effective about it. So the process is effective. It is a latitude, longitude, place-wise, time-wise. Or merchant ships are allowed to clear the areas, and in case they go into the territorial water of any country, then there is a hot pursuit on which the ship can be chased and destroyed. This is again United Nations law of sea, where the hot pursuits are also possible in the
Now we've seen today as well, Ambassador Mukherjee, another attack on MT Jalbir. Thankfully, no casualties in that incident. But how do we take this up now further to ensure that no more vessels are targeted in the days ahead? How are we going to be dealing with this situation as we continue to attempt to get our ships back home with obviously the contents on those ships which are needed for our energy needs while navigating this indefinite blockade and this war which just doesn't seem to end?
You see, Indian
Ambassador Mukherjee.
By which the captains of ships which are not flying the Indian flag but have substantial Indian crew, we would need to work out a system by which we inform the Americans in advance that they are not flying the Tiranga, they are flying some other flag, like the one which was attacked was that of Palau, I think. But there are substantial Indian crew, and India will take it as a direct hit on the bilateral strategic partnership if they continue to target and kill our merchant navy sailors. Secondly, we need to also work out a mechanism by which those who have been stranded for a long time now on different ships carrying different flags, but with large number of Indian merchant navy people on board, we need to find out a way to bring them safely back. At the same time, in order to assuage public opinion in India, which is outraged, we would have to summon the American High Ambassador when he returns in a couple of days, and we would have to issue a very strong note which would indicate that such unjustified attacks on civilian ships, even if they are in contested waters, they are not contested by India or the country concerned. They are being contested between Iran and US. And US does not have the right to do that. Do you think, Uday, that Trump would dare to attack a ship in this manner with Chinese merchant navy sailors on board? Not at all. Would he do that with Russians on board? Not at all. This indicates the difficulties we have as an emerging power, where the Americans regard us, I won't say phaltu, because that's a very strong word, they regard us as a mediocre power. They don't take us seriously. And once again, I would remind our audience that Deng Xiaoping had said that only when China becomes a mighty economic power, then and then only should China become a mighty military power.
Okay.
And that is something in India we need to...
I am almost out of time. 30 seconds, Major General Dwivedi. Last word to you.
Hormuz as a normal, waterway, it is very critical. I think French president had a meeting of about 50 countries, and they talked about a mechanism so that the ships that are already stranded can be taken out. But the blockade is double blockade. One is the blockade by Iranians, and second is the counter blockade by the Americans. The point at issue is this is a global issue. This needs a global kind of a intervention, and I feel that two things must happen. Firstly, internationally there must be some mechanism by which the ships can be taken out and they can be given safe passage. And secondly, I think there has to be a protocol on to how to engage the vessels which have no role whatsoever.
No, that certainly needs to be implemented, and it needs to be implemented immediately. All right, we've run totally out of time. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at that. My thanks to our guests for joining us. And with that, we are going straight across to my colleague